The power of change lies within you. No matter what I say or do, the power to change is ultimately within you. Over time, I've come to realize that I can't make you change, and that's okay. I've stopped trying to influence others one on one because I understand that true change comes from within. It's not that I don't care. In fact, I care deeply. But I also know that change is a personal journey, one that you have to choose for yourself. You have to want it. You have to see the value in change and how it can make a positive difference in your life. I can't do that for you, nor should I try to. Expecting someone to change just to meet your expectations can lead to frustration, disappointment, and unnecessary hurt. It's essential to respect the individuality of others and recognize that they are on their own path just as you are on yours. We need to stop expecting people to be what we want if we're not willing to put in our own self work. True relationships are built on authenticity, not on masks we wear until we get what we want. Pretending to be someone we're not, or trying to mold someone else into a version that fits our desires, only leads to temporary satisfaction and eventual heartache. Instead, focus on seeking what aligns with you. Look for connections that resonate with your values and goals, rather than trying to change someone else to fit your mold. When you approach relationships this way, you're more likely to find true fulfillment, and you'll also avoid the pain of trying to force something that isn't meant to be. Change, growth, and meaningful connections all start with the self. The more you invest in your own self improvement, the more you'll attract people who genuinely align with you, and the more you'll find peace in knowing that you can't control others, but you can control how you choose to live your life. The mirror of change. In a small village nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, there lived a woman named Alara. She was known for her kindness, always willing to lend a hand or offer words of wisdom to those in need. But despite her generous spirit, Alara often found herself frustrated. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't seem to help people change their ways. Alara had a friend named Marin, a man who struggled with his temper. Time and time again, Marin would come to her ashamed of his outbursts and promising to do better. Alara, ever patient, would offer advice and encouragement, believing that if she just said the right thing, Marin would finally change. But each time, after a few days of calm, Marin would lose his temper again. Alara felt defeated. She couldn't understand why, despite all her efforts, Marin couldn't change. It wasn't just Marin, though. Others in the village, people she cared about, seemed stuck in their patterns, unable to break free no matter how much she tried to guide them. One day, as Alara sat by the river, lost in thought, an old woman approached her. The woman's hair was silver, and her eyes held the wisdom of many years. She sat beside Alara and, without a word, handed her a small mirror. "Why do you give me this?" Alara asked, puzzled. The old woman smiled gently. "This mirror is special. It doesn't show your reflection, but the reflection of your heart. Look closely, and you'll see the truth." Curious, Alara gazed into the mirror. At first, she saw only herself, her usual reflection. But as she focused, the image shifted. She saw Marin, not as the angry man she knew, but as a boy, scared and hurting. She saw the root of his pain, the wounds he carried from his past that fueled his temper. And then she saw herself, trying desperately to fix him, to mold him into someone who fit her idea of who he should be. The realization hit her like a wave. She couldn't change Marin, because Marin didn't truly want to change. He hadn't yet seen the value in it for himself. All her efforts, though well-intentioned, were in vain because the power to change wasn't hers to wield. It was his. The old woman's voice broke through her thoughts. "You can't make others change, Alara. The will to change comes from within, and only when someone sees the value in it for themselves. But you can change how you approach the world, and in doing so, you might inspire others to find their own strength." Alara nodded, understanding at last. She thanked the old woman and returned to the village, carrying the mirror with her. From that day forward, Alara stopped trying to fix others. Instead, she focused on her own growth, knowing that true change starts within. She continued to offer support and kindness, but she no longer tied her worth to whether others followed her advice. Marin still struggled with his temper, but over time, he began to see the changes in Alara. She was more peaceful, more content, and others in the village noticed too. It wasn't long before Marin approached her again, not to ask for help, but to ask how she had found such calm within herself. Alara smiled and handed him the mirror. Look into this, Marin. You'll see that the power to change has always been within you. As Marin gazed into the mirror, he saw not just his reflection, but the possibilities that lay within him. And for the first time, he felt the true desire to change, not for anyone else, but for himself. And so, the village slowly transformed, not through Alara's efforts to change others, but through her example of living authentically, focusing on her own growth and allowing others to find their own path.